Hey guys, welcome back to Homesteading Off the Grid and another morning ramble. We've all heard it said, attitude determines altitude, and there's truth to that. We heard it so much when we were young, when we were playing sports, when we were right out of school, be it high school or college or trade school, and going into our first careers, our first jobs, especially for those of us who went into sales. I remember, I was a stockbroker for 8 years out of college. And we'd have these rah-rah speeches by these top producers talking about how attitude determines altitude. And that's true. I mean, there's a lot of truth in that. I don't want to knock that. Then we start to age a little bit for those of us who've been around the block a few times. And despite our best efforts, like I've talked about so many times on these rambles, we do the best we can. But so often, especially where other people are involved, our best just isn't good enough. People leave our lives. People that we would least expect, people that we would least want to leave our lives, do, despite our best efforts, despite having great attitudes, and despite the love we give them, and sometimes the love that they have for us too. Just because they leave doesn't mean they don't love us. Sometimes they do leave because they do love us, and they're exercising something called tough love, and they're tired of watching us kill ourselves in certain situations. And boy, is that a talk for another time. But we get bruises. We develop calluses. During this time, we're told that if we can have an attitude of gratitude, and I talk about that a lot, if we can focus on the things that are going good in our life, the things that have gone well in our life, and not focus so much on the bad things, we can develop an attitude of gratitude. Well, that works to a degree, and I'm not discounting that. That's very powerful, very effective. But then we just get to the point sometimes where we just sit there and we say, doggone it, the calluses are thicker, the bruises are blacker. And I kind of have reason to believe that the longer I go down this trail of life here, the more time I spend in this journey, the more calluses I'm going to get. It's probably true. So what's the point of this crazy lake? What am I getting at? Well, I guess what I'm getting at is which side of our callus, what part of our callus do we want to show the rest of the world? What is Crazy Lake talking about now? Well, Crazy Lake had a doctor's appointment yesterday at the VA. First time I've been there in 4 months. It was like just a routine checkup. It went well. I'm still bat crap crazy. Well, I didn't meet with the shrink. I met with the general practitioner, so I don't know. Maybe I'm not so crazy anymore, but health is fine. I put on 10 pounds. I go in. The nurse practitioner, first thing she says is, "You still working at the post office?" I'm like, "No, thank God." And she says, "Jump on the scales." I'd gained 10 pounds. So I'm not walking 12 miles a day, and I'm actually eating correctly. I'm sleeping better, and I'm lifting weights and working out now. So it's healthy weight. It's a healthy 10 pounds. And by the way, I'm going to give a shout out to my old buddy from the post office, Mike Masani. I ran into him last night after my doctor's appointment. Saw a mail truck, so I happened to be where I was stopping to pick my wife and son up. They were hanging out at our friend's house while I was at the doctor's. And I knocked on the window, and he looks up. I say, "Hey, mailman," and he smiled and jumped out and gave me a hug, and we talked for a bit. And Mike really is very fitting to this story about calluses, past experiences, getting old, gruff, and tough, but deciding to show the world the softer side of that callus. And as far as these calluses go, my doctor and I were talking yesterday, and he's a little bit older than me. He was in the Army. He worked as a doctor for UVA Hospital here for many years before going to work for the VA. And we were just talking about life and estrangement, which was yesterday's topic, and we were talking about going overseas, and about how we go through some tough times in life. They bang us up, we develop calluses. And the doctor said to me, and I never thought of this before, so I mean, this isn't Crazy Lake being wise here, this is just kind of relaying what the doctor said. The doctor told me, said, "You know what though," he says, "if you open that callus up on the inside, it's soft. It's tender." Says, you get banged, you get battered, it makes you tough on the outside, but we can choose to open those calluses anytime we want. And there's a particular level of tenderness and softness that comes with a callus that you don't get with regular skin that hasn't been battered and banged and bruised. And that's us. That's each and every single one of us who's been through tough times in life, who's been through hardships. And I've shared recently the hardship of being estranged from my 3 children, my 3 adult children. 99.99% of you were very supportive of me opening up about that, and I thank you for that. Many of you shared your own experiences about that. You opened up about that. And I was sharing this with the doctor because when I was telling him, no, I'm not at the post office anymore. I'm actually YouTubing full-time and pursuing my writing. I'm working on 2 novels and 1 nonfiction right now. And he asked me about what I'm doing on YouTube, and I said, you know, Doc, it's crazy. I started this channel to try to help people know how to grow beans and corn and raise chickens, but the most success we're having is me sitting up in my field talking to myself on the phone for like 12 or 15 minutes a day, sometimes longer. But he asked me what I was talking about, and I told him, and that's really where this whole concept got even deeper about the calluses. He says, you know, you've been through a lot. He's my doctor. He knows about the estrangement of the children. He knows about the fact that I'm a sober alcoholic. I'm a clean drug addict. He knows where I've been. He knows where I am. And he said, I'm not surprised that you're doing really well with these videos that have nothing to do with farming and gardening and cutting firewood and homesteading type stuff. He says, because you have become calloused with the things you've been through in life, and instead of showing the world the outer, hardened, crusty edge of the callus, which I chose to do for many years, he said, you finally decided to open that callus and show the soft, tenderized part of that callus that's been beaten to a pulp, and that's helping other people. And these are his words, not mine. And I said, you know, Doc, I guess you're right. I never looked at it that way. And so I started looking at it that way last night when the doctor and I had this conversation. It was an evening appointment. I was there from like 4:30 to 6:30. And so my point of this is, it's not a me, me, me. It's a you, you, you. I know we have people on this channel, our faithful, loyal subscribers, like Dawn in the UK, who I shared her story about a week or so ago. If Dawn wants to go out and socialize with people, it takes her 3 hours to get ready because of her physical condition. She can't talk like I can. Sometimes her you know, she's got a lot of ailments that causes her great difficulty. Dawn's calluses are so much more thicker, whatever the proper terminology is, than mine will ever be. But Dawn chooses to show the world the soft, tenderized, caring, loving, grateful part of that callus, which is on the inside. Sarah, one of our subscribers who really inspired the morning ramble yesterday about the estrangement from loved ones. Sarah was estranged from her daughter for many years. Sarah had a husband who she loved unconditionally who left her. Sarah had a sister who she loved dearly, who she wanted to grow old with, who died from cancer. Sarah has bruises. She's got stories she can tell. She's developed calluses. But instead of showing the world the hard, crusty callus side, she shared with me and the rest of us the inner, softer, tenderized side of those calluses. And when she did that, when Dawn did it, when so many others of you on here share your experience, strength, and hope with the rest of us on this channel, what you do is you take those experiences that might not have been so nice, the experiences you're going through now that aren't so nice, and you're using that to benefit others. I said at the beginning of this video, attitude determines altitude. There are people out there right now who have cancer, who have other diseases, who have physical, I hate to use the word disabilities, but they are people who are living with challenges, whose lives are not easy. There are people who are estranged from people who they love very dearly. This is a challenge and it's not easy to live with. But you guys who are living with these things are choosing to show the world the soft, tender inside of that callus, which is allowing others who share your conditions to be strong, to be courageous, to be brave enough to go on with another day of life with an attitude of gratitude because of the good things that are in their life. When you open up that callus and you show that soft side, if you do that to me, I'm no longer looking at the hardened, rough outside of my callus. I start taking a look at the soft side of mine and I share it with you. And the next thing you know, we're here together talking about all the things we're grateful about in life. My doctor and I did this yesterday. It shouldn't have taken an hour and a half for that appointment. It should have taken 20 minutes. But he opened up his calluses. I opened up my calluses. And all I'll say is there were tears shed in that doctor's room that day. I'm not going to say by who. It might have been by both. But that was a very meaningful hour and a half of both of our lives. And it wasn't because we both chose to show each other the heart. This guy's been in war too. He's a veteran. I'm not going to, it's his life. I didn't never mention his name, but he shared things with me that are very personal. I'm not going to share them here, but let me tell you, his calluses are thick. But he opened up and he shared the soft inside of his callous skin with me. And that helped me more than any medical thing he could have done for me yesterday could have ever done. He gave me hope. He strengthened my faith. And guys, we have the choice. Yes, we go through difficult situations. Yes, life's not fair. We can show the hard outer side, and if we expect anybody to be sympathetic with us or to empathize with us or to come onto a YouTube channel or any other sort of social media platform and say, this guy or this girl is somebody we should all strive to be like because they are so bitter and jaded and nasty and hateful and say hurtful words to anybody they can, you think that's going to happen? Probably not. But when the Dons of the world and the Cleopatras of the world, hey girl, my cat was an abused cat. She's got PTSD, and she shows her outer callus to people she doesn't know, but every night she sleeps on my chest, and she purrs me and herself to sleep. And I'm a little riled up right now, and you guys have seen it. This isn't the first time this has ever happened. She knows when to come calling. So anyway, back to my buddy Mike. Come on, kitty. Mike shared an interesting story with me. We were just catching up. I hadn't seen him since I left the post office 4 months ago. And Mike had his driving privileges there at the post office suspended for a couple of days, and he had to miss a couple of days' work, lost out on a couple of days' pay. He's a rural carrier. And I was like, Mike, what happened? What'd you do now? You know, what'd you do to get in trouble? And Mike, if you saw Mike, I'll tell you, the first month or so I worked with Mike, I never spoke to him because he's kind of a rough and gruff looking guy. He's about 10 years older than me. He's got some calluses. You can tell he's been around. He's done some things. Well, I finally started talking to Mike after I'd been working at the post office for a while. Mike has been some places in the world and done some things that aren't too pretty, and he's earned his calluses. But, you know, Mike's the kind of guy that... he's a good guy. He opened up to me. He showed me his soft inner side of his calluses. And he did it recently with somebody. That's how he got in a little bit of trouble. Mike was out delivering mail, and he saw a ginormous dog jump on a little dog and start killing it. And he saw the owner of the little dog jump in to try to save his little dog, and he saw the big dog start killing this guy, ripping his shoulder apart. And I mean, I could get gory, but I'm not going to. Mike did what Mike does, and he jumped in there and he grabbed this humongous dog. This big dog's owner was standing at her car and had the back door open. Mike threw this dog in the car. The owner shut the door and told Mike she was so sorry that blah blah blah, whatever. Mike got his hand torn up a little bit by the big dog in the altercation, but he saved the little dog's life. The little dog had about $1,000 worth of vet bills, but the dog lived. And the other guy, he had some health issues there, but he's alive. He's recovering. Mike's recovering. So Mike was forced to take a class where he was instructed by the Postal Service that next time that happens, he is to call 911 and then record the altercation on his cell phone so that the appropriate person can sue the other appropriate person in the appropriate court of law. But by whatever means, don't get involved. And we all know why, right? If Mike gets hurt, he can go get a workers' comp claim. The post office has to pay or something. So we know what's going on. Mike took the class, and at the end of the class, the guy said, okay, if you see this again, what are you supposed to do? And Mike said, what I'm supposed to do is this. Get my phone, call 911, record the dog killing you, wait till you're dead, and say this is the dog that killed you. And the teacher said, correct, you pass, you can go back to work. And Mike said, good, thank you. However, if I'm out there on the street and I see you getting mauled by a dog, I will risk my own life to save yours. You have a nice day. Mike is an example of, he looks rough, he looks tough, he looks gruff. He's had some rough experiences, but when it's time to show the world his callus, he doesn't show him the hardened outer side, even though at times, upon first glance, that might be what you see. Mike shows the beautiful inner tenderized part that's been tenderized for a reason. We've been tenderized for a reason, and it's to be tender. So, which part of your callus do you want the world to see? That's your thought for today. And as always, I'm going to give you a beautiful parting shot of the homestead. We'll see you next time for more.